So what they've done is added a reverse key. It's over here. You can just do Control R, and now your vehicle has these two little, I guess, backwards arrows. So now any order I give, it's always going to try to reverse. So if I give an order in front of it, it's actually going to try to turn around and, reverse toward that position. Where it gets interesting is this. This is honestly an insane feature. Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gates of Hell. Today we're going to be doing two things. I want to show off this kind of interesting Conquest campaign, and we'll talk about this. It looks a little bit interesting, I hope. We'll talk about this in a little bit, probably as we're actually playing. But I wanted to go over some of the things here in Conquest. The number one thing that they've done is they're now allowing you to mess with the appearance of your units, and it actually will save. So before you could kind of mess around with this stuff, but when you went into a battle, it would default to the standard. So yeah, you could technically have one guy with the winter camo, but it would most likely refer to default. And now your whole thing of like selecting every single guy and making them winter camo, that was the gun, that wouldn't really work. Now, besides the infantry, so I'll probably just leave 3 of these guys on winter so you can see that it works. But now they've done the same for vehicles. So on this 231, we can say, well, I want standard instead of the camo. We can go for some of the camo here. We can go for, it's got like these wheels are slightly camouflaged, I guess, compared to the standard one. A desert camo, future DLC, sure, trust, shout out. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying things here. And a winter camo. Imagine there's a bunch of mods out there where you can have T-34s with a bunch of German markings, or you can have a Panther with a Soviet marking, or a Sherman, I don't know, with a Japanese marking, say you're playing Valor. So you capture a Soviet tank and you go into your German Conquest and you're now in the menu. You select it and you can be like, okay, I want the German camo, and now you have a actual Beutepanzer. It just works, depending on the skins that the developers or the mod that you're using will have. But it's really cool because it just adds a little bit more customizability to Conquest, which is always a good thing. I'll have a link down to this mod in the description. It is the German version of this mod. There's an American version too, where you're kind of going the opposite way, so you're sort of invading the coast. This is a Normandy 1944 campaign where you're going through a set of maps. And as the Germans, you're starting away from the coast, as the Americans starting obviously on the coast. And they've disabled the Belgian maps, the Ardennes maps. It's really only Normandy maps. So I think some of the mission maps are actually added as well, as you can see. I believe this is the Bloody Gulch map. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be the most balanced thing that you'll ever play. But if you're trying to do a historically accurate campaign, or at least like a geographically accurate campaign, then definitely check this mod out. I'll link it down in the description. A big thing, and it's going to be hard because we're already kind of in the face of these Americans, vehicles now have, okay, by the way, you can see that this winter camo state. Actually, there should be some very warm Germans over here with their winter camo, yeah. So what they've done is added a reverse key. It's over here. You can just do Control R, and now your vehicle has these two little, I guess, backwards arrows. So now any order I give, it's always going to try to reverse. So if I give an order in front of it, it's actually going to try to turn around and, reverse toward that position. I'll disable that option again. Where it gets interesting is this. This is honestly an insane feature, which indicates that right now, the vehicle itself is going to reverse instead of go forward. And if you've played this game in any semblance of multiplayer, or even Metaphor Assault Squad for that matter, I don't think there's a big difference in the games in that setting. You played some multiplayer, you have always thought of like, crap, how do I get a tank out of a position that's like about to get flanked by an enemy tank without basically doing this, where you would give it a bunch of orders with shift and would tell it to like almost follow those. You can actually see it already messed up. I guess you could do it a bunch of orders that are further spread apart. That's the only way back in the day to really sort of make that work. And even then it was kind of risky. But now you can just do Control R and, your vehicle will just reverse. Realistically, this vehicle probably would have driven there, turning around and then drive over there, correct? As you can see, actually, when I select this guy, here he's interested in reversing. But when I go too far away, it probably will be like, yeah, he's like, see, he doesn't want to reverse to here. But if I do this, he is going to reverse to there. So a huge, honestly, massive quality of life upgrade, which it sounds really weird, maybe to be excited over that. It's something that I talk to the developers about more officially sometimes, and definitely a lot of times, like, sort of not official at all. Like, just like, hey, you know, be really cool, like a reverse key. And not only they add the reverse key, they added the system, which is perfect. You don't have to think about it. You just be like, okay, my vehicle's gonna reverse if I do here, but if I go too far back, like here, as you can see, it's gonna be like, yeah, I kind of don't want to use the, so here it should reverse, but if I do this, it's gonna go forward. See, it's a work in progress. I'm sure there's gonna be some bugs, but this is an insane feature. I know it's not as cool as adding a new faction, and I'm not trying to make it sound like this is as cool as adding a new faction. Of course it's not. But this is fantastic, just from that perspective of being able to quickly see, oh, my units are going to reverse. Oh, my tank is going to give, I almost said broadside. My tank is going to give a full, you know, flat armor as it tries to get out of the situation it's in. Or you can go, no, it's going to reverse and it's going to be fine. Honestly, massive props to the button. And then taking that a step further, actually... Okay, we do have to... Ooh, we lost 2 of our guys. Don't tell me one... Oh, one of them was the machine gunner, really. That is unfortunate. And it was actually the machine gunner and his assistant. Okay, well, I don't really want to care too much about grabbing the MG-13, so we'll just leave my Luftwaffe squads. I'm trying to reenact slightly what you would see in Normandy in terms of this, but I should probably can talk a little bit about that as well here in a second about the mod. Although, I think the explanation is really simple. You're just playing as the Germans, and this one, you're playing as the Americans if you get the American version. Okay, it's just a... Wait, what is that thing? Oh, it's just a 30 cal. Okay, we're good. And that's honestly it. Like, there's nothing... Oh, turned the wrong way there. There's nothing really to say other than that. It's just... Yeah, it's modded, and it's supposed to be a little bit more accurate in terms of, not so much the units, perhaps, but at least in terms of the terrain. Although... It would be cool. I think there's mods that will help you do that to set more of a 1944. I believe the Gates of Steel mod, though again, I don't know if the Gates of Steel mod and this are comparable or compatible, I should say. So maybe don't try it out and then be mad at me if it doesn't work. Because I'm not saying it does work. I just know the Gates of Steel mod has like a late war variant where you can maybe sort of reenact this. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm only using Luftwaffe. What are they, like Luftwaffe ground personnel, basically, as my mainline infantry. But, okay, we are kind of going to need to roll this 2-3-1 over there. The skin thing, I think, is really cool. Like, I know we don't have a capture T-34 to showcase right now, obviously. But imagine I had one. I could be like, oh, well, we just captured a T-34. Now let's use the... oh, we need to... What is that? Okay, that was looking the wrong way, I think. It's kind of a good thing for us. I think we got at least the majority of those infantry. There's military police charging us. So see, yeah, you could say, like, well, there's military police charging a German armored car in Normandy. Is that really accurate? Meh, maybe not. But at least the maps are accurate. And maybe if you, use the Gates of Steel mod, it'll be slightly different. But my point was more to showcase this mod because it was cool that the map looks different and we get some extra maps in general. And I just thought it was cool to highlight the camos here. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to capture a Sherman. And I frankly am not 100% sure if there is even a German camo for a Sherman. But if there is, or any sort of vehicle for that matter, really, so maybe we should actually try to capture this thing. And then we can repair it, jump in, and take a look at it at the end of the Conquest battle here. But besides that, and it's kind of hard to showcase because that's the whole point, I think, right, of an idle animation. It's that it happens when you're idling. Now they've... Oh, I'm losing a lot of my guys to a guy with a Thompson. Probably should be paying attention more over here, right? But the idle animations, they've added more animations in general. I'm not really sure to what degree that's something I can really like easily showcase, but there's new animations. They have added some idle animations just to kind of be like, hey, if your soldiers are just standing around, I kind of just should have not paused that there. They now actually have some animations. This goes for when they're like grabbing an item, when they're sprinting, when they're picking up something, and especially when they're doing nothing. Like, I don't know if those animations, like this guy just kind of like nodding his head or just like, I mean, that's obviously not an idle animation, but I think there may be, has this ever been a thing? Like, I don't think so. Just a chilling out, kind of moving their guns around, whether they're standing or prone or whatever. It just adds a little bit more life. Oh, this capturing is going to take forever with just the very crappy, like, probably like low point value Luftwaffe. Oh, there's also an enemy guy right here. That probably doesn't help. Okay, let's not have this guy throw a grenade at us, although I'm a little worried about what may be around this corner. I guess we should... This almost feels like Hell Let Loose, this area. I don't know why I specifically thought of Hell Let Loose, but that's kind of feel like Hell Let Loose over here. Let's grab this gun, and let's grab... There's a machine gun over here. And genuinely, that reverse feature, it's not just useful for multiplayer. It's useful in general to just have more control over your units. It's the last thing you want is to feel like you're kind of gambling what your unit is doing. So it does look like we do not have a German camo for this one specifically, sadly. Now, if there's a mod out there like Valor, perhaps, or another mod, which adds a bunch of, you know, say German or Soviet or whatever camos, then it would be cool to say, hey, let's add a German Balkenkreuz to this. I think it's actually, I'm not even sure if it's on these ones. This one, yeah. Add this to the side of this M3 Scout car. Or maybe like this is like crossed out and it's like painted next to it. There's a lot of different variations you could see, like either more organized or sort of like improvised. All right, so I did do a decent upgrade. We got up to the Panzer 38T Ausführung G. We got a couple of these things that we captured. I'm not sure if this campaign is going to be getting very hard or what's going to happen necessarily, purely based on the fact that I haven't played this before, but I just got 13 research points, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm supposed to be like really focusing on getting some of these later war things like Fallschirmjäger, Panzergrenadiers, maybe Pack 40s. I should also mention, I believe you need the DLCs. Obviously you need Liberation, but I also think you may need the Airborne DLC for some of the maps. Oh, I should have taken these guys' winter coats off. So we can see now, I guess accidentally, the winter coats on these guys stayed, which wasn't necessarily what I was hoping. I kind of meant to take those guys, their coats away, but whatever. It works out in the long run. Because what it showcases is it doesn't reset. Before, in the past, it would definitely reset. I'm also going to be defending a little bit kind of further backwards on these points. Just, well, maybe that point specifically, just because I feel like it's a little more exposed on the left there. We'll just keep setting up a whole bunch of these fortifications. I know you can shift click them, but I kind of personally have bad experiences with that, so I just prefer to do it the way that I know and I like. I did it my way. Shut up. I kind of want to go back into Gates of Hell or just get back into doing videos in general. I won't make a whole thing out of it here, but just basically just been a lot of health issues, and the last thing you guys want to have is me being all mopey and stuff when I'm trying to make a video that you're interested in watching. And hopefully this new update, I say new update, I guess updates are usually new. This update for Gates of Hell brings you back as well as me, and it's not a Gates of Hell thing. It's just, trust me, this is a me thing. But I've been wanting to try to get back into Gates of Hell. I believe there's a big update coming out soon for the Dawn of the Dead mod. I say big up. Well, it seems like a big update. I think there's going to be some extra maps, although I'm not 100% on that. But I did see there's going to be a whole new faction. It's the U.S. Marines as a separate faction apart from the U.S. military, I suppose. Oh, you know what's cool? I think we just lost a hotkey. Oh, we did not. So we lost some hotkey. I don't know. This happens as a bug. This is a bug, and I kind of feel bad pointing it out. Right now, you can see I'm just control R-ing, and it works, right? But my F key, which is the stop button. Oh, that's not the stop button. This one is to cancel. It doesn't work anymore. Like, I'm pressing F. I have to go here to make him stop. And these things, like grenade, F1, it's a bug that I've seen a few times, and I think the developers are very aware that it exists. And the only fix I've had so far is to just either quit the battle and load back into it, or just quit the game and load back into it. And sometimes one of those two will fit. Well, most of the time, one of those two fixes it. But it's a weird bug that I'm not really sure. I don't really understand how that works. You just lose the hotkey, you know, capability. Like, I don't know if I'm just stupid, but you know, it's possible. But yeah, it's nice to have the hotkeys work, because you can see right here, it doesn't actually tell you the hotkeys for any of these buttons anymore. Like, it doesn't tell you cancel, you know, F or bracket, but here it does. So maybe this is an interesting thing, that this specific hotkey is the one thing that still works, but every other hotkey, like F for stop or G for demount, or I think I have this like buttoned on like F5, F1 for grenades. I guess there's no grenades on that vehicle, but yeah, like nothing seems to work. So interesting bug. I'm not really 100% sure what can cause that, but it's interesting that this reverse key is the one that's still fixed, quote unquote, or working. Our Panzer 38, was that a shot? I'm not actually 100% sure, but it's an interesting campaign, I thought, to showcase this in, because I like the sort of more, what would you call it? It's more of like a theme to a campaign, right? Like, oh, we're playing as the Germans trying to advance onto the Allies in Normandy in 1944. And, oh wow, they're actually getting slaughtered out here by this, well, defensive line, plus a little 30 cal. It's a traitor 30 cal, because obviously this used to be an American one in the last battle. But it's cool to see, I think, a little bit more of a, yeah, just like a theme behind Conquest. And I understand the developers want to make it as free as possible. They don't want to lock you into a theme. Like, they could release it and say, well, here's our Normandy 1944 theme, but then they have to make a whole bunch of different conquests, and maybe you don't want to play Normandy 44. Maybe you want to do Ardennes, or maybe you want to do, you know, Market Garden. There's so many options. So I think it's very fair for the developers to say, hey, here's our game, you know, enjoy it as good as it is. And then if you want to mess with anything, like maybe you want to make it more historically accurate or geographically accurate, you know, whatever, etc., feel free to do so. Just, you know, make sure you use some mods and use our awesome platform, because that's kind of what Gates of Hell's turned into, right? I mean, that's what Men of War Assault Squad always kind of felt like to me. It was almost like a delivery platform for mods. And the developers, I think, do realize that, and I know obviously a bunch of modders work on, or modders like Rob's that used to do mods for Assault Squad 2. I believe he might still, I'm assuming he still works for the Gates of Hell developers, but they took the modders out of the community that were like, hey, your work is really awesome, you have a lot of people who like it, let's get you on Gates of Hell. And Rob's mod as a mod, you know, more realism. I don't think there's like weapon jamming in Gates of Hell or something like that, right? Like, I think Rob's mod does have that for Assault Squad 2, like weapon jamming and stuff. But some of the more obvious things, like bigger explosions, stuff being more deadly, Gates of Hell just feels, quote unquote, kind of like Rob's mod does in terms of like the game mechanics. Not so much like, oh, your gun can jam, but the thing like, oh, everything is deadly, machine guns are deadly, just making it feel a little bit more realistic. And I think it's cool that the developers behind Go were like, hey, we want the community who made Assault Squad 2 awesome to help make this game. And the modders of Gates of Hell now, who are modding things in, may end up being the developers of, or I'm not saying the purely only them, the developers, right? But maybe some of the developers, I should probably say. Oh, this guy actually needs ammo really bad. Might be some of the developers for when, oh, I just did the Control R thing. It still works. I almost forgot that none of the other hotkeys works, but this still works. That's good. We're going to just reverse that out and get some ammo. Maybe the modders of Gates of Hell today are the future part of the development team in Gates of Hell 2, or I don't know what they would call it, Gates of Hell Volume 2. I don't know, there's lots of different names that could come out. Oh, what? I know there's a gun back there. I think it's my whole goal here to knock that out with the Panzer, but I'm playing a very dangerous game here because I'm not 100% sure where it is exactly. I think it's back here. Oh, I meant to, okay, I actually smoked, but I don't know if that really adds a lot. I need to get, there is a gun. Oh, we just knocked some airborne crew. Is that like a M8 like light howitzer perhaps? Like one of those airborne ones that's just back there? This was like an airborne assault, kind of cool, like you'd see in Band of Brothers, but unlucky for the guys here is that they're actually not having sort of, I don't want to call it plot armor, because I mean the Allies obviously won the Battle of Normandy, so calling it plot armor is not fair. I mean, they obviously fought and won in a lot of those engagements, but the enemies here, the Allies here, are not having a great time running into our defensive line. It kind of feels like that Carentan, or I think it's like the outskirts of Carentan, like the third episode, when Blythe is in the foxhole and he gets the Edelweiss guy and the bazooka gets shot against the belly of the Stuka. We're getting really deep into almost the Brothers in Arms. I meant Band of Brothers right now, but it's a good show. It's a good show anyway. But all right, well, we got a pretty big amount of booty from that. It got a decent amount of points too. I think we're going to continue this in the very near future. Just a very short video indicating what is new in this last open beta update, which you can actually just access yourself. Just check the news articles. It's very simple to do. Or in a couple days, maybe even by the time this video is out, it'll just be in the public normal release. And we'll probably continue playing this Conquest campaign. I'm actually having a good time. I think we're going to try to not skip too many, because you can technically, I think, skip this one by playing this one. We'll try to actually get some of these done, or maybe most of them done, and do a couple of them per video. For now, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one.